welcome to It Happened in Grand Prairie as we go back into the past of Grand Prairie to thank several people for the memories that they'll bring back of old Grand Prairie. And this is our history tape number 25. And we are very excited today to have members of the old-time Thompson family from here in Grand Prairie, Texas. And Pete Thompson, we'd like to welcome you to the show today.
Thank you, Ruthie.
We're just so glad to have you with us, and you have brought a very special person with you. You have brought your mother, Susie Thompson. Welcome, Susie. We're just so glad to have you with us today, darling. Is it good for you to be out on this wonderful fall day?
Thank you. Thank you. It sure is.
All right.
Because
Now,
I don't get to go out very much.
wonderful.
To the doctor, and to the grocery store, and that's as far as I get.
all right. Now, Susie,
Haven't drove my car since last October, so.
you haven't. Oh, well, you had a good field trip to come out with Pete today then, didn't you?
Know it.
All right. Now, Susie, those in our viewing audience that are very interested in the history of Grand Prairie, they might like to know just exactly how old you are. Would you like to tell us your age today?
Now, have a what?
How old are you?
Oh, I'm 85. I don't mind it at all.
Wonderful.
85 young.
85 young. And
Sure.
all right. Now,
I can do
Susie,
as much work as either one of you all.
all right. Now, do you keep house for yourself still, Susie?
Yes, ma'am, I sure do.
Wonderful. That is just great.
Pete didn't fuss at me so much, I'd mow my own yard.
There you go. And you do let Pete mow the lawn, right?
Yes, right.
Good. All right. Now, Susie, we want to know just a little bit about you and how many children that you and your husband had here in Grand Prairie, Texas.
5.
5 little darlings. All
Right.
right. All
And
right.
I wouldn't take 5 million for either one of them.
Oh, that is good. Would you like to tell us their names so that everyone will know who your kids are?
Well, I'll start in on the girls. They're
All
the
right.
oldest.
All right.
Mary Sue,
All right.
Billy Rose,
All right.
Evelyn,
All right.
John Edward, and William Horace.
William Horace. Now, if
He was named for Dr. Copeland.
William Horace for Dr. H.V. Copeland.
Right.
All right, and he was a very famous doctor in this town, wasn't he? Good. All right, now, Susie, we're going to ask you to tell your husband's full name, so we'll have that in the historical record. What was your husband's name?
Ed Newcomb Thompson.
Ed Newcomb
Newcomb
Thompson.
Don't
Oh,
ask me how you spell Newcomb because
that's a mess, isn't it? All right, now, Susie, when did you and Mr. Ed come to Grand Prairie, Texas? Were you born here?
yes, I was, and he was also.
You were both born in Grand Prairie, Texas?
No.
Where?
I was born in Tarrant County. Oh, way back north. Oh, I'd say about 5 miles or 6, maybe a little farther back.
All right, and where was he born?
Where was he born?
Mhm.
He was born here in Dallas County.
In Dallas County part. Okay. And after you all married, what did he do for a living here in Grand Prairie, Texas?
He farmed.
He farmed. And when he farmed and you were raising 5 darling children, what did you do for work?
What did I do?
Were you a housekeeper and a farm helper?
I was just telling Pete a while ago, I said I plowed, I planted cotton, I'd done a little of everything. I followed right along with him. I helped him in the field just the same as he worked in the field.
That's wonderful. What crops did you all raise, Susie?
Cotton, corn, stuff like that, hay.
All right. Now, where was the farm that you all worked located?
It's out on the Thompson farm.
On the Thompson farm?
Right, out on the northwest part of Grand Prairie.
All right. Now, tell me this. Where did your husband's folks come from before he was born? Did they come in from
his
Tennessee?
daddy come from Tennessee.
All right.
That was around Oh, what was the
1800
name of the place?
For the turn of the century, yes.
For the turn of the century, yes.
And she was born here in Texas, as far as I know. She was right around through in this vicinity.
All right.
She was named Bellamy.
Bellamy. She was a Bellamy before
Yes,
she married
right.
your husband's father. And what was your husband's father's given name?
Mine,
Your husband's father. Edward's father.
oh,
John.
It was John.
John, I don't know what his other name was. John's all I remember.
John Thompson, and he married a Bellamy
Do you
girl,
remember
right?
what it- huh?
Good.
I believe it's the H, but I'm not sure on that.
All right. Now, your parents, what were your parents' names? Who was your mama and daddy?
Susan McCoy.
All right. And your daddy's
That's
name?
my mother.
All right. And who was your daddy's name?
William H. That was William Henry McCoy.
All right. William Henry McCoy. And your mother's name was Susie, but what was her name before she married Mr. McCoy?
Baskin.
Baskin. Okay, now we got all of the good names, didn't we? Well, that's just wonderful. We're going to let you rest a minute, and then we're going to come back to you in a few minutes. And let's talk to William Horace. Do you think that if we called him William Horace, those in Grand Prairie that have known Pete Thompson for all of these years would know who we were talking about?
When he graduated, there was some of them got up and made their announcement that he was better known by Pete, but that wasn't his name, and that he was named for Dr. Copeland, and that it would be fine for him to say William Horace. And if you want to call him Horace, go ahead and call him Horace.
Oh, good. That's wonderful. Pete, we really do want to thank you for bringing your mother, Susie, to this show. She is just delightful, and isn't she just so exciting for her age?
Thank you. She sure is. She's very mentally alert, and up until the past year, she's been able to maintain her home on her own just about, and she has been very active and able to drive. And last October, she had a little surgery on her eye, and so that's kind of slowed her to this point. But she's still very active in the things that she does. She likes to go and be with her children. That's her big hobby, is to be with her children.
Now, Pete, we are talking about history, but everyone in our viewing audience ought to know just right off that you're a member of the Grand Prairie ISD Board of Education, that you're a realtor here in this town and a past, I believe, athletic director for the school system and all of this good stuff. But what I want to get with you now on is for you to start out when you were very young in Grand Prairie, Texas. Tell us about the farm on which you lived, where it would be located as we know the streets today, and maybe tell us a little bit more other than what Susie's told us about your heritage in the Grand Prairie environs.
Okay. Ruthie, I was born in January of 1939, and the location would be what is now the horseshoe-shaped street of West Terrace and East Terrace, located in the northwest area of Grand Prairie. At that time, we felt like that it was, 3 miles from downtown Grand Prairie.
Right.
And so they came along years later and developed that area. And this was the Thompson homestead up until 1950, and they began selling that property, which included the Wildwood Oaks area of Grand Prairie, the area that's where the Rock Creek Barbecue Club is. The Thompson home place was the home approximately 500 yards northwest of the Rock Creek Barbecue Club, and it is still standing.
It is still standing at this time?
Still standing,
And who owns that property today?
Mr. Wagner, I believe, C.P. Wagner Estate, I think, still has the ownership of that property. But that was referred to as the Thompson homestead, where my grandparents and my dad and his brothers and sisters, you might say, grew up and or were raised. And I was born back east, up on the hill, like I say, where West Terrace, East Terrace, the horseshoe shape is at the top of that hill. And Dr. Copeland, Horace V. Copeland, came to our house and delivered me. Like I say, this was in the winter month, January 1939. And so we resided at that location until I entered the 8th grade, and then we moved into the city, and I've been a resident of Grand Prairie from that time that I came into the world until this day.
All right, now, could you tell me the old home place, the old home place that is standing, what is the vintage of that old home? Do you know what year that might have been built?
No, I don't, because my dad was born in 1897.
All right.
And I'm sure that this home was built somewhere around the turn or just a little bit before the turn of the century. And I recall the bridge that's located there at the Rock Creek Barbecue Club. There's so many people who have attended functions at the Rock Creek Barbecue Club. When I was 3, 4 years of age, I remember going down from where we lived and standing by and watching the workmen's group back during the war construct that bridge that crosses the Rock Creek at the Rock Creek Barbecue Club. So,
is that a WPA project, do you believe?
That's a WPA project, and like I say, approximately 1942, 43, somewhere in that area. I was just old enough to remember the construction of the bridge, and I think probably it's going to be a historical marker. Of course, it's carried a lot of traffic, and even more so now, but during all the time that the development of Grand Prairie and the Great Southwest area, industrial district and so forth, it has become more of a usable road, we might say. But that's one of the first things I remember in my lifetime, was watching the construction of the big concrete bridge across at the Rock Creek Barbecue Club.
All right, now, I want to get back to this old Thompson farm. When was it first settled, and who came here? Your great-grandfather from Tennessee, did he come? And was this one of the Peters Colony portions?
Okay, in the area, approximately there were over 300 acres that the Thompson family had.
All right.
And it was enclosed. It consisted of the area which is now called Wildwood Oaks. Like I say, all the area across to the Rock Creek Barbecue Club and back west, and the area which goes up to East Terrace, West Terrace, approximately where the High Line was built through the countryside there. The other area, Mr. Stewart and Mr. Graham, Bill Graham, who was an old barber here in Grand Prairie, he owned the property to the east of us, and the southeast corner of that tract of land, and Mr. Newberry owned the northwest area of that tract of land, which would be enclosed on the north by Sunnyvale Road.
All right, now,
And,
who settled that originally?
Okay, my grandparents, John Thompson, came from area near Shelbyville, Tennessee.
All right.
And this was back, as I say, before the turn of the century, and I don't know exactly what year that he did come and settle that area, but back maybe as far back as 1880, 90 area there. And they did maintain this land up until 1950. And we were all raised there, the 5 of us, my 3 sisters and my brother. We all were graduated from Grand Prairie High School. I was the youngest. I was the youngest of 16 Thompson grandchildren, and the majority of the Thompson family resided during their period of growing up in the city of Arlington. And my dad's brothers, he had 4 brothers and 3 sisters, and the majority of the time, at various times, they did move off. I had an uncle moved off to Fort Worth, stayed a few years, but did come back to Arlington. But if there was a Thompson name mentioned, especially in Arlington back during those years, we were all related.
All right, now, are your folks, your grandparents, buried in the old Watson Cemetery then?
In the old Watson Cemetery, yes.
Right.
My mother's mother, she passed away when my mother was 9 days old, and she was buried years ago, back in 1901, back in the Watson Cemetery. Her dad, who passed away, or my granddad, Will McCoy, is buried and was buried in 1950 in the Watson Cemetery. My granddad, John Thompson, passed away, I believe the year was 1917, and my grandmother, Prairie Thompson, passed away in 1949. And so she lived a long stretch of her life as a widow lady. And then my dad passed away in 1961. So we have the 5 of the Ed Thompson clan children, and my mother were still living, which we've been so fortunate to have.
Right. Now, do any of them, other than you, Pete, live in Grand Prairie, Texas?
Okay, Mary Sue, my oldest sister, and my youngest sister, Evelyn, they both live in Arlington. Billy Ruth, she lives in Dallas, and John lives in Colleyville. So
They're all nearby, aren't they?
they're all nearby. They're within 30 minutes of us, and so we get to regular scheduled visits on Christmas and Thanksgiving and 4th of July and those holidays, and we are able to get together, and been very fortunate to be pretty close during all these years that that we've
Lived here.
had our adulthood, we might say. Mary Sue was a 1942 graduate of Grand Prairie High School. Billy Ruth graduated in 1944, Grand Prairie High School, and I was still kind of young at that time, but I do remember the graduation ceremonies that I went to, and it was in the building which is now our administration building.
Right.
And that was an auditorium, and so I do remember going to the graduations there. Evelyn graduated in 1948. She did have an honor of going her entire public school years, all through from 1st grade on, and never missed a day of school. And
That's remarkable.
Quite an honor for her. I was very proud of that honor for her. She did receive a scholarship to, it was North Texas Agriculture College then, and then of course it became Arlington State Junior College, and then of course as we know it today, UTA. But she did go to Arlington with a scholarship because she had gone through a public school year with perfect attendance. And then John graduated from Grand Prairie High in 1951, and I graduated in the spring of 1957.
And then you went on to
So-
school where?
Okay, from there I did go to Arlington State, which was still at junior college level at that time, and while I was there, they started making the transformation from junior college to 4-year college. I did stay at Arlington the first year that they were making the transfer, and then from there I went on to North Texas State at Denton and finished my degree. But
Came back to teach?
came
at
back
Grand
to
Prairie?
teach. I did do my student teaching in Arlington, but I had always had my sights set on coming back to Grand Prairie, and I came back in the fall of '62, and Mr. H.H. Chambers was the superintendent of schools, and Mr. L.E. Bowes at that time had moved on from high school principal to the administration building, and through a lot of encouragement by Skinny Davis, who was our football coach at that time, and I had a lot of talks with him during these periods of time, and he was always very encouraging for me to return and do some coaching. So in '62, I came back and began my teaching career at Grand Prairie High School, and I stayed there 1 year, and Adams Junior High was being built, and so I wanted to be a coach in several sports, so this gave me the opportunity to begin my freshman year at Adams.
That's
and,
wonderful.
That was excuse me, fall of 1963, and I stayed there 6 years, and South Grand Prairie opened, so I went again to a new school.
Right.
So I was very fortunate to work new school at Adams and the new school at South Grand Prairie High School.
Well, it's been wonderful to go over your history. Now, we've let you rest, Susie, so now we want to come back and talk with you just a little bit. We're going back to your personal family. When you were a McCoy,
Right.
how many brothers and sisters did you have when you were in the McCoy family?
I only had one half brother.
One half brother, because your mother died when you were very tiny, right?
When I was 9 days old,
9 days old. And what is your brother's name, your half brother?
and a half brother, that's all I had.
All
Didn't have
right.
no sister, no nothing.
No sisters. Well, so when you got married and had 5 children, that was delightful that you had a
Right.
whole house full, right?
My daddy was real happy.
Oh, I know that he was. Now, Susie, when you worked on the farm and you said you did the plowing and all of this other things, did you give all of these 5 children any chores to do on the farm?
Well, it wasn't that I had to really assign them things like that, but then I would tell them things that they had to do, and they always did it. And then they'd ask me if I wanted them to do so and so, and if I did, I told them yes, and if I didn't, well, you go on and play or do something else, you know.
All right, now, during the summertime, when they were out of school and they were on the farm all of the time, what did they do for entertainment? What did you all have for them to do in the summer?
Played, you know, and played ball, first one thing and another. So after all, it wasn't any ordeal for them to find something to do.
You think they could find plenty to do?
Huh?
You think they could find plenty to do then?
Yes, right.
All
Because
right.
after all, we had yards to keep and things like that.
All right. Now, did you ever go up to the school and help with the PTA and room mother and all of this kind of thing?
Well, some, but not like I would have liked to, but then I didn't all the time. I'll help some, but not nothing like I did. Now, I did have a job in the school, all right, but not as a, you know, room mother or anything like that.
What did you do in the school if you had a job in the school?
I worked in the cafeteria.
How wonderful! Which cafeteria did you work in? The only one that they had up there?
Well, all told, I worked about 30 to 31 years all put together. Now, there was about 3 years there that I worked part-time, you know.
All
just
right.
working here at this school and that school and so on and so forth.
Can you
Well,
remember
when
any of
she-
the schools that you
Huh?
worked? Can you remember any of the schools that you worked at in the cafeteria?
Travis
All right.
High School, the Northside High School,
All right.
and let's see, and Austin.
And Austin.
But at Lee, I put in 25 years.
25 at Lee Middle School now it's known as. It was Lee
Right.
Junior High then, wasn't
Right.
it? That's wonderful. And who was your boss?
Who was
Who
my
was your boss in the schools, in the
Livonia
lunchroom?
Lewis.
Livonia Lewis, and it seems I've heard that magic name before.
Huh?
That's Mikey Lewis's mother, right?
Right.
Our Mike Lewis, yes. Well,
She's a
that's-
wonderful person now. There's a lot of people wouldn't agree to that, but then that doesn't matter to me whether it agrees with me.
She's good
That's
to you,
great.
wasn't she?
That's great. She was really nice to me.
That's good. And in those years that you worked, all of these years in the cafeteria, what did you think about the boys and girls and the change in them, and how did you get along with the boys and girls? Did you worry about them?
Well, Ruthie, let me tell you,
Yes, dear.
there's a lot of difference right now in them than they were when I was working.
You can see the difference now, can't you?
Kids are, they're just awful by the side they were then. And I thought they were bad enough then.
Oh, you did? Mm-hmm. When you cooked for them in the cafeteria or worked in the cafeteria, what do you think that their favorite food was of all?
Did I what?
What favorite food do you think all the kids liked the best?
Well, I don't know, but I've had so many to say that Lee Junior High was the best school they had in Grand Prairie, but then I don't know whether they just tried to make me feel good or what.
Because you worked there so long, right? All right. Pete, did you have something to add to that?
Well, of course, we always felt like that, you know, the food was good back then. Ms.
Exactly.
Lewis, I felt like really did a good job.
Exactly.
And we always had real good meals. And of course, back then, we didn't have near the schools that we have now, because if we go back in time, when John and Evelyn were in school especially, they had to go half a day because of the crowded schools. And the elementary school that I first entered had just been completed back in '45, and that was Austin, and it was built during World War II. And since then, that school that was constructed at that time, because of the lack of steel and material that was built in the building, they had to tear the old Austin school down that was built during the War II and reconstruct what we know now as Austin School. And but at that time, when they were going half a day, we just had Crockett Elementary School and William B. Travis, and then the old high school, which was on College Street there, where the administration building is at this time.
Well, we really do hate to break this up, but do you know we're down to a half minute? And Susie, we just love you for taking the time to come out and do this for us.
After all, that I've enjoyed it, sure have.
And for all of the service that you gave to the boys and girls of this town by working in the cafeteria.
The thing about it, I was manager of that Lee Junior High School for 25 years. And this one had come along and said, well, Ms. Lewis must have fell in love with you because you've been there so long. Mr. Holly told me one day, you know what words he can say? He said, that is all right. She's not making a bit of mistake because she's a holding to her. He's making a good mistake, I can tell you. Said, that's the finest woman that's ever hit this school.
Wonderful. Pete, thank you all for being with us.
Well, I'm just proud that I still have my wife, Myrna, that teaches at Grand Prairie High, and Bart, who's at Grand Prairie High School as a student, and we've had a long affiliation with the schools.
Represented anything.
Real proud of it.
Thank you. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do. Thank you all again.
Well,
Thank you very much, Ruthie.
Thank you a whole lot. I've enjoyed it very, very much. Sure have.